watching 7 Action News, always taking action for you.
Tonight we begin with new information pouring in on the shooting of 2 Detroit police officers. They were wounded in a shootout that occurred last night.
It's a story you saw unfolding on 7 Action News at 7 and 11. And tonight we're learning more about the injuries of those officers. New details are emerging about the suspects in this case. We have Team 7 coverage, Jim Kurtzner, with a closer look at the suspect. Ronnie Dahl showing us how this all happened. But we begin with 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell. So Kim, what's the latest on the officers' conditions?
Well, I'm live at Henry Ford Hospital, where one of the officers is still in critical condition. We know the identities of both of the officers, but because of this serious situation, the Detroit police have asked us to withhold their identities at this time. The family of this officer has asked for privacy. What we have learned, though, about both of these men that were injured is that they are the best of the best when it comes to police.
Obviously, it's really painful. It's really devastating to know and to go experience.
Special Agent Donald Dawkins says hearts are heavy at the ATF offices in Detroit. Yesterday, 2 Detroit policemen who are ATF Special Task Force officers were tailing a suspected murderer here on Linwood near Hooker. They boxed him in, and the suspect started shooting. One of the policemen, a sergeant, was shot in the leg. The 24-year veteran was treated and released from the hospital. Another, an officer, who was a 12-year veteran of the force, remains in critical condition. Sources tell 7 Action News bullet fragments hit him in the head in 3 places. Doctors operated and now are waiting for swelling on his brain to go down.
Pray for the officer, you pray for his family, and those prayers I hope everyone continues to do so. He has a lot to go through, but we're praying that he'll pull through.
Just moments ago, I got off the phone with a spokesperson for the Detroit Police Department. She is openly asking the public for prayers for this officer who is still here at Henry Ford Hospital fighting for his life. Those prayers officially requested. In the meantime, we're learning more about the task force that both of these men were a part of. It is a task force that was charged with catching, quote, the worst of the worst. We'll give you a look at that coming up at 6 o'clock. Reporting live in Detroit, Kim Russell, 7 Action News.
All right, Kim, thanks so much for that live report, because we do understand that task force was a joint effort. But we're going to go now to Jim Kurtzner on Detroit's west side. Jim, I understand this guy was a parolee, long rap sheet.
He had a long rap sheet and trouble in prison. You're going to see in just a minute. We're talking about 23-year-old Matthew Joseph. He had everything to lose and did, including his life, when he got into that shootout with police last night. According to Michigan Department of Corrections records, 23-year-old Matthew Renard Joseph entered prison in 2007 for armed robbery and weapons charges. While he was in, he had, get this, 22 misconducts. He was paroled last October and since then tested positive for marijuana 4 times during 24 drug tests. He reported to his parole agent last month, March 8th, when he tested positive again and was referred to substance abuse treatment, according to state records. Police sources tell 7 Action News last week he came to this West Side Detroit motel to buy cocaine, and when he was shorted, he allegedly killed his dealer. Police on the hunt led them to Joseph behind the wheel of this car they boxed in when he opened fire, ending that hunt and ending his own life. You're now looking live at the motel where sources say that first murder happened last week and led to the police incident last night. The murder here, how much is the life worth? We'll have that answer for you next hour at 6. Jeff, Glenda?
Okay, Jim, thank you. Look forward to that. So how did this all happen? How was one violent man able to open fire on 2 police officers? 7 Action News reporter Ronnie Dahl joins us in the studio with more on that. And Ronnie, they were tracking this suspect. They had to be aware of the dangers, I would assume, right?
Well, of course, they always are. And, you know, the one thing that's pretty surprising about this is he actually wasn't on the radar all that long. It wasn't until 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. That's when the officers actually got the lead on the murder suspect. They were in the process of tracking him when he caught on. That's when they were doing what they were trained to do, and that's try to stop him before he hurt any innocent people. But instead of surrendering, he fought back with a gun. The officers are driving in separate unmarked police cars as they attempt to pull over Matthew Joseph near 25th Street. He takes off, leading officers on a chase. When they get to the intersection of Linwood and Hooker, the two officers maneuver their cars to try and stop Joseph, who is in the driver's seat. The Detroit police sergeant is in the car in front of the suspect's vehicle. The officer is behind him.
It looks like they were successful in blocking that car, stopping its movement. It can't go left, right, so the public's not in danger from a car chase. But again, it turns into now it's a shootout.
Ellis Stratford is a retired Michigan State Police Assistant Division Commander. He is not a part of the CBRP unit, but has extensive experience in special operations.
It seems more recently suspects are choosing to take on the police. It's been said and proven that action is faster than reaction. I suspect he knew he was being pursued by the police. I suspect he knew at that point, I'm not going to be taken alive.
It wasn't until all three cars were at a complete stop that the bullets started flying. Sources tell 7 Action News once Joseph was cornered, he opened fire in all directions. The officers fired back, killing him. Now, you heard them talk about that special unit that these officers were involved in. That means they had extensive training for violent situations like this. For the past 3 years, they have been working as part of the Comprehensive Violent Reduction Partnership, known as CBRP. That's when it started 3 years ago, working out of the Northwest District. It's an initiative between local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to curb the violence in Detroit.
Okay, Ronnie, thank you very much. Much more coverage to come. Ahead at 6 o'clock, a closer look at the murder last week that led to the police shooting last night. Now the community is coming together to support those officers. That's tonight at 6 o'clock.